Thursday, July 22nd, 2021, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today we're going to look at how the global supply chain is under threat again. It's not just here in the UK that we have the pingdemic problem, which I'm going to touch upon as well today. But I have to thank Rafi Farber of the Endgame Investor, which is a newsletter that I highly recommend. It's on Seeking Alpha, and I've interviewed Rafi Farber many times. He does come on for the live stream on Sundays with me once in a while, and he wrote yesterday, "Into the real hell of maritime transport, shortages getting worse." He took this article from Reuters. I did look at the Reuters article, but Reuters now is charging you to use their website. So apparently I've run out of free articles for this month. I can see just the first few lines of the article, but it says, SOS, stranded and shattered seafarers threaten global supply lines. And this came out July 20th, 2021. So you can see here, this is from Reuters story. So I'm going to look at Rafi's newsletter, give him credit for it, of course, and tell you what's going on so you can understand that there's a problem out there, and this will affect the whole world, every country in the world. So this is what Rafi says: out of econometric garbage and into the real world. Econometric, I guess it's the Keynesian philosophy of economics, that you just look at numbers and you totally ignore what's going on in the real world, so to speak. So the shortages cometh. That's what Rafi thinks. While we are waiting for gold and silver to reverse on the chartistry, it's time to venture out of chart patterns and into the real world. The biggest sin of trying to force economics into equations is that economics is a study of humanity, of human choice and action, and humans are not equations. I 100% agree with Rafi. The Austrian School of Economics, of course, talks about human action. Ludwig von Mises' major book is called Human Action, and Rafi, of course, is a proponent of the Austrian school like me. So let's continue. It is completely obsessed with numbers and completely ignores humanity. It is the Tower of Babel, where means do not matter as long as you build the tower, the central plan. Well, it's a little bit like the NHS here in the UK. It's getting harder and harder to get treated for anything but, you know what, starts with a C and ends with a 19. Case in point, seafarers. These are the people that ship, wait for this, 90% of the imported and exported goods in the world. This group is not a statistic or a cog in the system of shipping and transport. They are human beings, and the world economy cannot function without them at all. Their pain and suffering, the abuse they are enduring, is not counted nor accounted for in garbage Keynesian econometric models. And boy, oh boy, are these people being abused right now, and they're suffering enormously. If you read the whole article linked above, if it makes you nauseous, that's good. It means you're human. Here are the excerpts. So we're going to go through the excerpts. I can't go into that article. I've had my quota of free Reuters articles. So let's see what Rafi has pulled out of this article. It says, "I've seen grown men cry," says Captain Tajinder Singh, who hasn't set foot on dry land in more than 7 months and isn't sure when he'll go home. "We are forgotten and taken for granted," he says, "of the plight facing tens of thousands of seafarers like him, stranded at sea as the Delta variant of the coronavirus wreaks havoc on shore. People don't know how their supermarkets are stocked up. That's what Captain Singh said. Singh and most of his 20-strong crew have crisscrossed the globe on an exhausting odyssey, from India to the United States, then on to China, where they were stuck off the congested coast for weeks waiting to unload cargo. He was speaking to Reuters from the Pacific Ocean as his ship now heads to Australia. They are among about 100,000 seafarers stranded at sea beyond their regular stints of typically 3 to 9 months, according to the International Chamber of Shipping. Many without even a day's break on land. Another 100,000 are stuck on shore, unable to board the ships they need to earn a living on. The United Nations describes the situation as a humanitarian crisis at sea and says governments should class seafarers as essential workers. Given ships transport around 90% of the world's trade, the deepening crisis also poses a major threat to the supply chains we rely on for everything from oil and iron to food and electronics. Bulk carrier Master Singh from northern India is not optimistic of going ashore anytime soon. His last stint at sea lasted 11 months. He said his crew of Indians and Filipinos were living out of cabins measuring 15 foot by 6 foot. Being at sea for a very long time is tough, he says, adding that he had heard reports of seafarers killing themselves on other ships. The most difficult question to answer is when kids ask, "Papa, when are you coming home?" He said from his vessel, which was recently carrying coal. The issue is that we have one set of people who desperately want to go home because they have finished their tenure, and another set of people on shore that are desperate to get back on board to earn a living. This is what Rafi says here, his opinion on this, not mine, but you will find that it's pretty similar. In the mindless obsession to stop the pandemic, the entire global economy is being destroyed. Always have that in mind when your emotions tell you to sell low. What these policies are forcing is a lower supply of people willing to work in shipping and for much more money, because the chances of even being left off the ship are much lower. These people have become prisoners at sea, slaves basically, and without them, your supermarket would not be stocked. So I'm going to stop here. And as I said, have a look on Seeking Alpha. Look for Austrolib or the Endgame Investor. Think about subscribing to his newsletter. He also writes public articles, but the newsletter is really good. He talks about trading as well if you're interested. And I think it's just over $200 a year. So with the talk of supermarkets, I'm going to jump to an article I saw yesterday in the Daily Telegraph or telegraph.co.uk. And it says, "Pingdemic means supermarket supply chains starting to fail. Government urged to ease crisis by including more industries on list of those exempted from automatic self-isolation." I've read the article. I'm just going to give you the most important part that I think people should keep in mind. So basically, the Prime Minister and the UK government have come out because there's been a lot of concern about this pandemic, that so many people are having to self-isolate. I think in a week, over 500,000 people have had to go into isolation. Of course, they have downloaded the NHS app on their mobile phone or smartphone. And yes, a lot of groups like business groups, retail groups, they're complaining and telling the government and the Prime Minister that they have to do something about this. But actually, The Prime Minister came out yesterday and he said it's going to continue to be business as usual until August 16th. So almost another month of this. So this is what the Prime Minister said. On Monday, Mr. Johnson indicated that those that would benefit included, and I quote, our hospitals and care homes, the supplies of food, water, electricity, and medicines, the running of our trains, the protection of our borders, and the defense of our realm. So he didn't say anything about anyone else. So it looks like this is going to continue. It's going to make it even worse. There's a lot of problems evolving or developing from this. A lot of people not going to work. And one of the comments in this article is that even if they were to allow, for example, exemptions for people who work in supermarkets, a lot of them don't earn that much money. Their wages are very low. And the government has drawn up this plan that they're giving certain people £500 to test and trace. So they would probably not choose to keep working. They would isolate. They would get the £500. So why don't people just delete the app or not download it? Well, I don't know. You have to ask them. But I would say some employers probably make their employees have that app, so they don't have a choice. If they get rid of the app, they might lose their jobs. So it's a huge mess. So as you can see, it's not just in the UK. It's also the global shipping lanes are being put under threat. And as you saw from the article and also from Rafi's analysis, 90% of all goods that are shipped worldwide, exported, imported, they're shipped through the shipping lanes at sea. I guess the other 10% would be by train or by air. So what are we to do? Are things going to be fixed? Is the global supply chain or the pandemic situation in the UK going to be fixed? I have a feeling it isn't. I have a feeling this is being done by design, and there are ulterior motives out there by the powers that be. So yes, what do we do in this situation? Well, we can only try to protect ourselves individually and our families. And for that, I would say, listen to the interview I did with Arpad from Star Path Academy last Saturday. I'll put a link to it up in the cards and in the description. He talks about what you need to do in terms of prepping. It's not like an extreme. You don't have to go out there and stock up massively. You just have to, I would say, according to him, buy a few more items, more units of things that you really need. Don't panic, I would say. And don't panic and don't let this scare you. That's the main message, I would say, from Arpad. He had the experience, of course, of surviving through this kind of environment in Romania in the mid to late 90s, the hyperinflation and economic collapse that happened after the fall of communism over there in 1989. With that, then, let's quickly look at where the markets are this morning. It's just before 8 a.m. London. We've got spot gold, 1801.30, down about 2. Range has been 1806 to 1797. Silver outperformed yesterday. Today, silver is unchanged, 25.24. Range has been 24.85 to 25.33. The stock markets are continuing to recover a little bit here this morning. The Dow futures up 30 points, NASDAQ up 35 points, S&P future up 5, FTSE is up 3 points, just above 7,000. The currencies, we saw the pound recover from the dead, so to speak, yesterday afternoon. we got to as low as 135.90, I think, and right now we're at 137.35. So very volatile situation in the currency markets at the moment. The euro is trading around 118 unchanged. The dollar's down about 0.2% versus the yen at 110.09. Dollar is unchanged versus the yuan at 646.60. To the Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar is up 0.2% at 73.69. The US dollar is up slightly versus the Canadian dollar at 125.72. WTI crude back up above 70. I think we were trading around 67 yesterday when I reported it to you. It's unchanged overnight. High-grade copper up about 0.75% at 430.40. To finish off, let's look at where the bond markets are, and in particular the 10-year yield or the treasury market. We are down 1 basis point, the 10-year yield at 1.27%. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.